Okay guys, welcome to our training session today. My name is McLaughlin, Vice President of Sales at Waterfront Realty Group. I'm really excited today to have these two guys with me. Good friends, awesome entrepreneurs, leaders of the industry. They work for Movement Mortgage. I have Fabiano Pinto here to my right and Jonathan Garrick here to my left. Introducing them today, so go ahead guys, take the floor.
Awesome, Kyle. Well, thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. One of the things we do each and every time we show up and we get together with people is we always want to provide value. We want to have a purpose, and so we hope today some of the things we talk about are going to give your agents ideas, ways of operating, ways of being, and ways of going out and creating new business and just being more powerful around the mortgage process and be a little more confident about how it actually works.
Awesome, that's great. And Fabiano, tell us a little bit about the dynamic between you two and how you guys work together.
Well, Jonathan and I have a great relationship. We've been working together for a long time on a friendship level, and I've been in the banking world for a long time, and he finally pried me off and brought me over to the mortgage side. I think Jonathan is a great person to learn from. He's been a person that I've looked up to for a long time, so we mesh really well, and I know that I can learn a lot from his expertise, so I'm very excited.
Awesome, man, awesome. So Movement is awesome. I love the name, I love your culture, I love what you guys are putting together. I think it's very motivational, and from a standpoint of where the market is going, obviously the influx of millennial clients that we're getting and the different types of mortgages that are out there and how to apply them to each person. You guys come from a point, you always say, from contribution, right? And you always talk about it's not just a transaction, it's the connection, it's the relationship that you make with your client.
Absolutely.
So tell us about how Movement Mortgage is different than the rest and what you guys do to really stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely. So for starters, Movement was founded in 2008.
Okay.
Right? The best time in the world to start they jumped in. Toby Harris and Casey Crawford started the company at the time when every day there was a new major company, major lender that was exiting the business.
Gotcha.
And so they got in 2008, really at a time where people thought they were nuts. And that's what I love about Movement is everybody, when you hear the culture, when you hear our mission is just, when you hear it, people are like, that doesn't even make sense. You're a mortgage company, right? Our mission is that we exist to love and value people by creating a movement of change in our industry, corporate cultures, and our communities. And so that in itself is like, people have a hard time wrapping their mind around that that's how a mortgage company operates. But when you talked about contribution, that's what it's about. When you come from contribution and not lack and fear and want, and you just try to help people, that spreads, it's contagious. And so that's really why we exist, is to serve our real estate partners with excellence and contribute to them in any way that we can. And so in 2008 we were started. In 2010 TRID came along and everybody threw up their hands and said, oh my gosh, we can't close a loan inside of 90 days because of TRID. All these new rules, all this kind of stuff, and nobody could wrap their head around it. And Movement looked at it and they said, well, this doesn't change anything.
No.
Like, it was disclosures, it was doing things in a timely manner, and it was doing things in a right process. And so that's what changed. But the speed of closing, it's that people couldn't wrap their mind around it, so that's why they said, wait a minute, we're going to, we can't close anything inside of 45, 60 days until we wrap our head around this.
Right.
And so that's when the Movement 671 process was born. And that's how our 671 process starts with when we take an application on someone. We take their application, we ask them their questions, we run our desktop underwriter, and we submit their file. That file is underwritten, and right now we're at 83%. So 83% of our files are underwritten within 6 business hours with a credit commitment.
Wow.
So we take an application to credit commitment letter in 6 business hours, 83% right now. So that's the 6 of our 671. Our 7 is we have a 7-day process. Our processors, our operations teams, are compensated, right? So you talk about that little entrepreneur style, different thinking in the mortgage world. Our operations team are compensated on the efficiency and quickness that they process that file.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So again, 83%, the same process of our files, are fully processed within 7 business days. Whether it's closing on the 8th day or it's closing in 45 days. It's fully processed, put away so that the agents, the realtor, can go out and create more business, create relationships, worry about lead generation, not walking their deal across the finish line.
Checking in on their mortgage broker.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't heard from them. What's going on with the appraisal? What's up with this? And so, so obviously, when you hear that, it creates a lot of questions. Well, wait a minute, I don't understand. What about the appraisal? What about this? What about the CD? And so it really is a process that's geared to, we have it all set up when we just, when we create an application, we disclose them immediately. They sign their disclosures electronically. They get a preliminary CD. We work with the title. The appraisal is ordered. We can get an appraisal back in 5 days without rushing it. We can rush an appraisal and get it back in 3 days. So the one thing that's important in our 671 process, and I know you guys have a lot of great relationships, and you have one with title companies and attorneys.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll be ready, but a title company is working in succession of closing date. So that's sometimes the thing that holds us up is getting
the title.
Yeah, it's the title work and doing all that, ordering the survey. So we make sure that when we communicate with a title company or an attorney up front, we explain our process and say, hey, we're going to move this thing through, or hey, this is closing in 8 days, and we are going to be able to do it.
Right, there's a lot of moving parts of title company, of course, and if it's a condo or an association, there's the HOA approval and all that.
Absolutely.
So having the whole team on the same page, if you have a quick 7 to 10 day closing, especially in a condominium association, which you can do, by the way, it happens, get the approval fast enough. I mean, when you have a good team, that's when you can make that happen.
Absolutely, and speaking of condo, we have an entire condo department of 35 people. We have attorneys on retainer. We have an attorney in our condo department. And so if some of your agents have listings, what we can do is go ahead and get that condo approved for them at no cost to them or their client.
So what do you mean exactly get the condo approved?
So Fannie Mae approved, go ahead and get that so they can market that property as, hey, we've already gotten this property is approved, it's a Fannie Mae approval, or if it's somewhere where the market would allow it, an FHA approval. Because there are condos out there that can be FHA approved, it's just a longer process than a Fannie Mae approval.
Gotcha.
But we'll go out and do that work and get it approved so your agents can kind of market that property as a, we've already gone out and gotten a Fannie Mae approval, the budget, everything is good, we can close a loan in how many ever days you can make an offer.
That's huge. Now, outside of condos, obviously, where does USDA fit into that equation or not?
Yeah, USDA fits into, we absolutely can do USDA. It's not necessarily, anytime you're working with an outside company or an outside entity, there's a little bit more, so it wouldn't fall in our 671 process as far as
okay, I get you.
Underwriting a USDA file in 6 hours.
The approval process is a little bit different.
It is. We can still close them in 30 days, but it's not going to be as upfront as what ours is.
At that point, it's out of your control.
Correct.
So what can you do? Okay,
right.
Cool.
Correct.
Cool. So, and then as far as, we talk about all the products that you guys have, the 671 process, you guys can do basically virtually any mortgage that's out there. As far as the process itself, from when the realtor gets obviously a contract, they negotiate a deal, it gets done, and they introduce you into the process. Tell us a little bit about that, and obviously from contract to close.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to back up. I'm gonna jump in front of that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
So we do have a TBD process, and so what we encourage all of you agents out there, if you're currently working with buyers, or even before you start working with buyers, make sure they understand the importance of getting them to us prior to that.
Gotcha.
So we will fully underwrite a file within 6 hours on a TBD without an address. Again, with a commitment letter. So that commitment letter is obviously pending the property in an appraisal. But our process, what we want is our process to start up front. So the reason for that is things like employment. Someone works on commission income or overtime income. It's not just as easy as taking an application or even seeing a pay stub. Lenders do what they call written verifications of employment. So if any of your agents have ever had a deal where they had a pre-approval and then later on, a week before closing, the deal blew up because of income, it's because most lenders don't do that written verification until later in the process. So we'll do that up front.
Gotcha.
Without a property, without a contract.
Wow, okay.
We're going to verify all that stuff so that you can take your buyer and basically go make a cash offer, right? If you can close in 8 business days, if you can waive a financing contingency because you have a commitment letter pending the appraisal, you technically have a cash buyer.
Okay, so you said a really important point there. You can eliminate the finance contingency.
You absolutely can.
And that's massive. I mean, that is the one reason why cash offers will win over finance deals is because of the finance contingency.
Right. Yeah, the quick closing, the financing contingency, absolutely.
Because everything can go right. You could inspection period, obviously the offer, everything went fine and dandy, and then you get to the 9th inning, and then everything falls apart because of an approval of something that was overlooked.
Right.
So
absolutely.
And that is a huge thing to be able to eliminate that.
Yeah, so you would, in that situation, you would still make it pending an acceptable appraisal. Because some cash offers like that, where they waive financing, they don't care about the appraisal either. In this scenario, you would
We still do,
need,
right.
You'd still need the appraisal, but you could waive the
And there's
fine.
addendums or language that you can include in the contract where it makes that pretty easy.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do we, as realtors, we're out on the work field and we're meeting clients on a daily basis, especially ones during the summer that usually locals buy during the summer in Southwest Florida.
Right.
But no matter what time it is and we've come into somebody that needs a mortgage, how do we introduce you into that equation? What's the most powerful way for us to put you in front of this client? Instead of just saying, oh, here's my buddy Jonathan, here's his business card, call him.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Do you have any sort of insight on that as far as us introducing you to the client?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of times if someone is looking for a home, maybe they've, everybody starts their search online. Right?
Yeah.
With real estate, you guys see it all the time. And a lot of that sometimes happens with lenders. They'll kind of poke around or they'll see commercials on the Rocket Mortgage and they'll end up with Quicken or some
Or Lending Tree.
Yeah, some kind of big box lender.
Yeah.
And if you do have a client, by the way, on Lending Tree, I would highly recommend, they can go with whoever they want, but the second they put their information in the Lending Tree, they're going to get bombarded with phone calls with 8 different lenders.
Oh yeah, it's just a lead generation
Yeah.
for mortgage brokers.
So that's what's going to happen to them. So again, that creates chaos in the process. And so anytime you have uncertainty, it's going to lengthen the transaction. So you've got someone that's, somebody with like a type C personality that has to look at everything, and you introduce this Lending Tree and all these different mortgage options and things like that. They're going to want to make sure they have the right one and do the right thing and have all of that squared away. So it's going to slow down the purchase process.
Of
So
course.
having someone and being able to introduce them to a Movement Mortgage or another trusted advisor, whether it is someone else in the business, is important. So it comes into, for most agents, the ones who have experienced disasters are more powerful, right? They're passionate about it. They can sit across the table from someone and say, look, I've seen a deal fall apart. I've seen a family lose their escrow money because they did this.
Yeah.
Some of your newer agents.
Right.
Wow.
And
Speaking of experience, it's powerful.
And some of the newer agents will be like, they'll say, oh no, I've already got a pre-qualification or pre-approval. Oh, okay, great, right? And they're done. And so it's a process of role playing, but really explaining to them, hey, here's what you need to know. I get that you have a pre-qualification letter, and that's awesome that you did your homework. There are a couple of different types. There is a pre-qualification, which means that someone's taking your information and it looks like you qualify.
It's
really,
verbal, right? I can tell you, hey Jonathan, I make $100 grand a year, blah blah blah. Here's my credit, and you say, okay, here you go. Here's your
it's
pre-qual.
not worth the paper it's written.
No, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So a pre-approval is something that so the pre-approval means different things to different mortgage companies. So that's the problem with that. That could mean that it's just been a desktop underwriter. So I put it through my system and it spits out, hey, once we get these documents, if they're correct, they will be approved. So it's all of that language. So really a pre-approval can sometimes not be worth the paper that it's written on as well.
Right.
Because again, we go back to that verification of employment. If that hasn't been done, that could blow the deal up and the deal's done.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
pre-qual, pre-approval, and commitment letter. And the commitment letter is what we do. We want to make sure that if we go out and we put someone in your vehicle or with one of your agents, that there is no way that deal is blowing up unless it didn't appraise or unless the buyer backs out of the deal or the seller does. And so that commitment letter is what's important. So for someone to say, hey, I understand you have a pre-approval letter, here's what I want you to understand. And here's how we're going to, when you tie it to a commitment letter, making an offer, closing quickly, what do we know about cash deals? What do they typically get? A better price.
Oh, absolutely,
Exactly.
yeah. Cash is king, right?
So when your agents are communicating that, and that gets those clients to peak up. Oh wow, okay, I'm going to save money if I listen to you.
Potentially,
If I go through this process.
Yeah, they love it.
If I go through and sit with Movement and get them my documentation and I have a commitment letter in my hand. So that's how we tie it. A lot of mortgage bankers you've probably experienced are like, oh, I can't get the documents. I've asked them, we're still waiting on documents. I haven't got the bank statements. We don't really have issues with that because of how closely we work with our real estate partners. And we get buy-in from the client. We tie them getting us their information to saving money, closing quickly, getting the home of their dreams.
Right.
And when you communicate it in that way,
Creates a sense of urgency.
yeah. It creates a sense of urgency. It makes sense. And yeah, if Kyle can go out and get really aggressive with my offer because we can close quickly. Now, most of the time, the seller is not going to be able to close in 10, 12 days anyways, unless the property is
Unless it's vacant, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it gives that seller a vote of confidence of, oh wow, they can close this quickly. Okay, great. We're gonna look at this seriously, and okay, fine. you know, we'll give another 5,000 off or whatever. It just really allows them to be aggressive. So
feel more comfortable.
Yeah, we tie that savings to getting us that information. And so that's really how we have it. And now, I don't know that that was very clear. That was like clear as mud. How I explained that.
No, it's good. I mean, you tie everybody in. So is everybody getting notifications like, hey, here's where we're at, here's what we need, here's what's happening next? I mean, there has to, for you guys to be able to operate on that level, you guys have to have a process down pat to a T. I mean, from underwriting all the way to point of contact and all the way back to closing.
Absolutely. So Fabi has a team. So we basically take our loan officers and surround them with a team.
Right.
A team of people that allow us to operate this efficiently. So Fabi has his own assistant. Like every single one of our loan officers, the second they step on board with movement, have an assistant. Someone that works with them and their client on collecting the documents and doing that thing. That's on the front end. We have a processor on the back end that works with the loan officer assistant. So Fabi's got a team, the second he steps on Movement Mortgage, of about 4 people that work with him that make this whole thing work the way that it does.
And that's seamless.
Exactly. I don't think people understand the value of a team because it allows you to just master your craft. As opposed to trying to be a jack of all trades and collecting paperwork and processing things and still making the client connection or trying to. It's the same in real estate. We always, that's why our positioning in our market is a team. It's a synergetic atmosphere where you have your point of contact, you have a leader behind there, you have a structure, everything is very organized, there's processors, there's assistants, just like you guys have too. And it creates, not only is the process more seamless, but it's a better customer experience for the client. At the end user is always has communication, which is the most important thing in our industry, first and foremost. And they have access to the documents they need because of technology, because of our process. And I'm seeing the same thing from you guys too. And that's really what makes the difference between a strong mortgage company or service provider and not, obviously. So.
It does. So I see, I'm great friends with a lot of good lenders in the area and lenders that aren't at Movement. And we have a great relationship. And I see them every day processing their own files. They talk to me, you know, they're in the office until whatever X amount of o'clock, collecting documents, doing those things. And that's not the best use of their time because their strength is creating relationships, serving our real estate partners, and structuring deals. And at Movement, that's what our loan officers do.
That's good. It's good to at least know what's going on, right? You guys seem to have a good stream of communication. So you know, like, this process is happening right now or this file is getting done right now, but you're not the one that's in charge of it at all times, along with 100 other tasks that you have on your plate. So that's a difference maker.
Yeah, if you relate it to like a sports analogy, our loan officers are the quarterback.
Right.
And they take ownership of the file and they make sure that everything is moving and they know everything about that file because they get the updates as well. But once they structure the file and submit it, it's up to their support team to take that across the finish line.
Okay. And I don't know about this in your industry. I know that in real estate it probably is the same thing. It's very much a copycat industry. So somebody will figure out a good process or a good way of lead generation or closing deals faster or getting their listings sold quicker or picking up more listings. And then before you know it, everybody else is doing the same thing. So the real leaders, obviously the top 1%, are doing things constantly different to reinvent them, not only reinvent themselves, but also provide a better service to their client. So what, has anybody stepped into your turf as far as how fast you can get these things done and the process itself, or what stops them from doing that? What keeps you exclusive in that regard?
Absolutely. So yes, there are some that have stepped into there. So the TBD, that's not like unique to Movement.
Okay.
Getting a buyer approved before they go out and buy a home, but the process is different. So I'll give you for instance, one lender in town, they go and do it, and you can do a TBD approval, but they put a 12/31 date on it, and it gets pushed to the back of the line, and it's probably going to take you 2 to 3 weeks to get that TBD approval. So if you do have a buyer, you can get them TBD approved, but it's going to take you a few weeks.
Okay.
So they don't have it to where they don't treat those TBDs the same as they treat a live contract, and Movement does. And so part of what you add, that second question leads into this, it costs money.
Of course, It
costs money to be so operational heavy and to do all of this stuff up front because you know you've probably had buyers that for whatever reason just went by the wayside. They were all hot and heavy and decided I'm going to wait, buy in a year. I decided not to buy, we're not selling, so we don't need this mortgage. So probably 15 to 20% of the files that we underwrite, for whatever reason, don't ever go to closing.
Okay, that's part of the process.
That costs a significant amount of money to do, and most lenders, they are working on such a tight P&L and a thin margin line that they're not going to put those upfront costs in order to do that.
And that makes sense. That's when you get your buyers. For us, it's the guys that take you and spin you around for 50 showings in a weekend, or and you've been working with them for what seems like years. So if you quantify the time that you spent, you're actually making like $10 an hour.
Right, exactly.
It's crazy. So obviously with you guys, it's the same thing. You're spending staff, resources, obviously, and everything.
Yeah, we've got underwriters on file. We've got a processor and LOA collecting documents. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So there's an opportunity cost with that.
There's a whole team behind it. Yeah. So here in Naples, locally, you have your offices up on Vanderbilt.
Yeah, we have in the Vanderbilt and Airport. We've got a retail office, and we also just opened our one in Fort Myers. So now we have 2 retail offices with 9 loan officers now coming on board, and then 4 other support staff for our team here in Southwest Florida.
That's huge.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
We're growing at an incredible rate, and bringing guys like Fabiano, who are good people who understand our process and get that the realtors are our clients. Yes, technically our client is the person that we're getting a mortgage for, but the way that we operate, the way we see the world is our realtor partners are our clients. And we know that the realtor is in the market to stay. You hear all this stuff about online lead generation, some of these brokerages that are going online.
Or Zillow, Redfin.
We don't buy into that.
No.
Like, people want to do business with a person, so we know the realtor is in the market to stay, and that's who we're going to continue to serve and focus on.
At the end of the day, I think of that as a scrubbing process for our industry, because technology is powerful, Zillow's powerful, Redfin, all that. It's cool. I embrace it. I think the ones that get threatened by it are the ones that they're transactional. You mentioned that earlier. A transactional agent puts the deal through, gets it done for kiss and goodbye. That's it. Never talks to the client again.
Right? Yeah. They don't have a business model.
They're just trying to get as many deals done, which is okay. Fine, you make some money. That's great. But long term, that's going to fall apart.
Absolutely.
Right? So those guys are very threatened by what Zillow's doing with their instant offers and all these online brokerages or different concepts that are coming into our market. But at the end of the day, you said it, people want to do business with people, not a machine. And that's going to be true for as long as we're alive.
I totally agree.
So, so that's a huge point too. And you talked a little bit about the client process, right? And what happens with the file, the underwriting, everything you guys do differently with our buyers. Tell me, again, speaking from a place of contribution, what makes realtors take their business and their clients to you? What is it that you're doing for realtors that other mortgage companies maybe aren't doing?
Okay, sure. It's a few things. One, they love our process. They love how many times they're touched throughout our process. It's never what's going on with this file or this borrower. A lot of times a realtor will get a call from their client wondering what's going on with the mortgage, and that's the one call we know realtors hate.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we're touching that client so that they're not reaching out to ask the realtor what's going on with their file. So we do that process differently. The fact that a file is going to be processed within 7 days so that that realtor doesn't have to worry about it. They can go focus on their business and not that deal. So many realtors feel like they're walking deals across the finish line right now.
Or dragging them.
Yeah, or collecting documents, like being that in-between person between the client and the lender. That's not their job. Like they don't want to do that, and so we recognize that, because if you're spending your time doing that, guess what you're not doing? You're not creating relationships and getting more business. So that piece alone is what why a ton of real estate agents use us. But also, every single one of my loan officers, we hire based on who's a good fit for our family, similar to your model, not to put warm bodies in here. So we want to make sure that all those agents know that when you call us on the weekend, when you call us whenever, we're going to pick up. Your family, right? Would you answer the phone for your brother or your mom?
Absolutely.
Like, that's how we look at it. And it sounds weird and it sounds cliche, but it's absolutely that way. We treat our realtor partners like they're our brother, our father, right? If I've got a guy, I think, would I answer the phone for my father? Absolutely. Is he stressing about this deal? Yeah. Could a 2-minute conversation relax this realtor?
Sure.
Then it's worth having if it's on a Sunday at 9 p.m.
It doesn't matter.
And so that, just the mortgage process is what we really we take pride in. The other way that we feel we bring value is in ways of our leadership trainings. We teach building influence using social media. Before I jumped back into the mortgage business, I was a coach. So I was doing that for a living, running online masterminds, teaching how helping people learn how to build influence in the community. Because most real estate agents, they don't see, and this is important, they don't see themselves as a leader. Because they might be like, I'm just an agent. Like, I'm not a leader. I don't have a team. I don't have anything like that.
Okay.
And they think that I'm just a realtor, and they don't realize how much power they're giving away, because people want to enter a transaction and be led.
They do.
Absolutely. Of course.
And for you to run a successful business, you need to lead the transaction, the client. If you're a powerful agent, you can sometimes lead the other agent, the title company. You need to understand how to build influence with every single one of those people, and that's what leadership is. Leadership is influence, and influence is leadership. And so I really work with agents on understanding how, yes, you don't have a team per se, but you are a leader, and you can lead that transaction, and all this other stuff that you talk about is happening doesn't have to happen if you'll lead the process. All the stuff that is going wrong is because you didn't step in and take a leadership position, and you didn't have influence with the title company, you didn't have influence with your client. They just see you as a transactional real estate agent, and that's what's stressing you out. That's why you can only do one transaction a month,
right,
instead of the 4 or 5 that you're setting a goal for.
Exactly. That I don't know if you realize how deep what you just said is for a lot of people, because it goes beyond our business, beyond mortgage, beyond real estate, but it's really like inside looking in, like a reflection. Here's a mirror, like what am I doing wrong outside of just not calling enough people, right?
Yeah.
That isn't making me get more business or grow my business effectively.
It's ownership, taking ownership.
It's taking ownership. Yeah, it's very easy for me to sit here and it's like, oh, I'll blame Fabio, or I'll blame the mortgage, or I'll blame my title guy, I'll blame the guy across the street because I didn't close this deal. But at the end of the day, man, it's your fault.
Right.
If you can take ownership outside of business in your whole life, if you're having issues, if you can quantify it to just being your fault and how you could have controlled it differently, it might have just been one word, one instance that you ever said, it just completely blew everything up. Right. If you can circle back to that, then you're on the right track to success.
You've made a positive step.
Exactly. You're empowered. That means you're in control. And that's huge. It doesn't mean you need to be manipulative or a control freak or a micromanager. It's just being in control of your life and all the other extenuating factors behind it.
And
for responsibility.
Taking responsibility is a powerful stance.
Yes.
Exactly.
And very powerful.
And even though it might not be there's a difference between it being your fault. You can still take responsibility for something if it's not your fault.
Right.
And that's where people get confused. Well, I didn't do that. Well, that's not my fault. Right, but you can still take responsibility
Yeah,
for it.
absolutely. That's what a leader will do.
Because you're involved.
Yeah.
You're involved in the process. So take responsibility for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine if the president just said, oh, this is going on down in Florida? It's not my fault. So, don't worry about that. I mean, that's the ultimate leadership right there. So, again, those core values is why I stand behind you guys. That means a lot to me because that's what I try to instill in my agents every day. And an important fact is, if you're a leader, right, of whatever it is, even if it's just your own household, your business, your life in general, if you have a following, it's important for you to portray that and live that way every single day.
Right.
Sure.
And empower other people to do the same thing. And that's what you guys are doing in more movement.
It goes beyond your professional life.
Yeah, that's what I want. So for my loan officers, when they come on board, we have one-on-ones, we have coaching calls, and one of the things I want them to understand is I don't want them getting together with real estate agents and vomiting movement mortgage on them. I know they can get together with a realtor and ask them a series of powerful questions that get them thinking differently about their business and give them some insights into their business. And if they can be that kind of a resource for an agent, if I can create loan officers throughout Southwest Florida that think like I do and like Jeff does and like Fabi does, then those real estate agents will be reaching back out to them. Absolutely. Hey, I'm dealing with this. What do you think about this? Right. And then my loan officers, instead of giving them the answer to it, are really trained on asking that realtor another question about what they're saying that gets them to realize it, so they figure it out. They empower themselves. And it really is, I want to create a sense of, hey, I'm struggling with this, I need to call Fabi. Hey, I'm struggling with this, I need to call Larry. And instead of, always the broker, always this, I want them to know that we're a resource, we're a family, and we're going to help them. And so that's why it's different here. It's not I don't need a transactional loan officer. I don't need top producers. We create top producers.
Yeah, through the correct way of doing it.
Absolutely.
Like you guys dig deep into the psychology behind it almost in a way too. To really what empowers people, what motivates them to move forward, I think is extremely powerful, right?
Yeah, so there's this one concept of being involved and having a relationship.
Right.
And most real estate agents and lenders are involved, right? And which means that they do business together, but they don't actually have a relationship. And so when you can create a relationship with someone, it's it's a completely different way of
You're on the same page. The mindset, you're aligning, that you're connected. So that
And you're
allows
portraying that to your client as well.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's the most important part. They need to know that we're all on the same page together. Right. And that, you know, I always talk to my new agents when they come on board, even if they're whether new to the industry or just new to Waterfront, and I sit them down and I ask them some powerful questions, right? And it makes them uncomfortable sometimes.
Right.
Which I'll tell you, I'm going to ask you some questions that be kind of you're going to think of weird. Like, why the hell is this broker asking me that?
Right, yeah.
But there's a big reason behind them. So then I'll ask them like, okay, what's your big why? Tell me why you're doing this. Why you're not, you know, just working at a bank or doing something more traditional per se, right? Why are you here, right? Why are you here, dude? And people will be like, well, you know, I want to make $250,000 this year.
You probably have to ask them that 3 times.
Exactly. It's at least 5. I'm like, okay, so you want to make $250,000?
But why?
Why? They're like, well, you know, my family. Cool. All right. So we're getting somewhere. Your family. Right,
so is that from training that you're knowing how to do that already?
Yeah, you know, I follow a lot of powerful influencers. A lot of people in my business and also outside, like Grant Cardone.
Because most people will let them get away with the first BS answer.
No. I make them uncomfortable. Like, dude, why are you asking me? So there's a reason. Just give me the answer, right?
Just hang with me, experience it, think. If it's making you think, just go with it.
Yeah.
I'll get all the way down to the real core reason why they want to do it. So, for example, I have an agent, a top producer. I won't say his name, but the real why, the motivator is he just had a baby, right, 6 months ago. So obviously, it's in itself is very motivating. But he wants to take.
Whoever you are, congratulations.
That's awesome. His wife, his baby, and himself out of the situation and into something that he never had as a kid, right? And provide that to them because he never wants his kid to go through what he had to go through. It was a tough life, right? So we always want better for our kids. I don't have kids, but I'm imagining that's the case, right? You have...
I have quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few.
Last count was 4.
So you know you're almost living for them too. So I'm like, okay, that's powerful. So tell me, in 10 to 12 months, where do you want to see you, your child, and your wife?
Right.
So like, okay, we want to live in Royal Harbor. We want to have a house, whether it's a house or a condo. We want to be on the water. I want to be close to downtown to go to the best school and go and do everything that I didn't get to do, as I already mentioned, and do it excellently. And I'm like, that's huge. So I want you to write that down. So we write it down together.
I'm a big believer in that.
And then every time, and we associate whether it's a monetary value behind it. So okay, I need 50 grand to get there, 100 grand to get there. That's cool. We associate a lot of our work into their big why. So then they're sitting down and then they go through a week where it's a challenging week, whether they didn't get enough calls or they lost a deal, or they didn't go on enough appointments. I'm like, dude, how many appointments did you go on this week? And he's like, well, I went on 2. I'm like, all right, so based on what you told me, you had to make 100 grand this year. We reverse engineered the math, and you have to be on 10 appointments every week.
Right.
So how is that lining up with you moving your family to Royal Harbor?
Are your actions in alignment with?
Are your actions in alignment with your goals, right? Otherwise, they're just bullshit. And I hate to be so blunt, but it's the truth. You're just saying I want to make 100 grand, and then it doesn't really mean anything, right? So that's and really, you should see the look that they give me. It's like almost like, oh my. First they're angry and they're like, dude, holy shit.
It makes sense.
I'm fucking up. And then he's like, all right. And then he gets right back on the phone or goes and does his appointment. And that's just one example. But that's what I try to create at Waterfront is attach your vision to what you're actually doing. Why the hell are you wasting your time here at this brokerage in this business if you're not in alignment with what you want to do, right?
Yeah, man, that's incredibly powerful because how many brokers? For those of you watching this, how many brokers are asking about your personal goals, your goals? Most of them want to know how many deals you want to do, how much revenue you're going to bring into the agency.
Yeah,
right. That's all they care about.
You talk about coming from contribution and a powerful stance to take with your team is to begin asking them about what they want to create personally, and you helping them create that is amazing. That's incredible, and you don't get that in this area. So
coming from experience,
absolutely. Yeah. So I want to touch on one thing you were saying with regards to that big why. Most people think that you create a big why as your motivator. And here's where I'll say, if you let it stop there, your big why is not your motivator. Your big why provides you clarity. And what I mean by that is you get very clear on what you need to do, because every time you look at a situation, you ask yourself, is this going to take me closer to my big why or further away? And then you do. If it's going to take you further away, you don't do it. If it's going to take you closer to your big why, you do it. You take all the emotion, you take all the feeling out of what you're going to do, and you just do what's necessary. So your big why creates clarity, and then that tells you what you need to do.
Exactly.
It's like
it's so powerful to figure out, right?
Yes, it is.
It's crazy.
And and once you get it working, it just goes. You know, it just get a nice flow. You know,
Yeah, you're able to clarity is so important because
Right.
you're able to eliminate the things that aren't congruent with your goal and your vision,
Correct.
right? So even if it's a toxic relationship or a bad partnership or even something that you're spending money on that you shouldn't be,
Right.
you're able to think, okay, does this align with my goal? Yes,
Absolutely.
no, boom, out of the way.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if
It's
you
easy
can
as
create, real estate agents that think like that, dude, not only you are gonna have massive success, but they will.
They will.
And then people will see that. That will be a reflection. And so
That's the goal.
that's
man.
incredible.
That's the goal.
I'm excited to hear.
That's what
I've
we're
heard
doing.
that a little bit from you, but that's exciting just to hear
Yeah.
from another leader. And
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. That's what I want to create is empowered agents, and that'll revolutionize our industry,
It
not
will.
only
It
locally,
will.
but beyond that, right? And that's the point that I want to do with these people. So I'm excited. I'm pumped with you guys too. I think we're all on the same page, obviously.
Absolutely.
So that really makes all the difference is to have a team.
It really is in alignment with our vision and what we're looking to create.
Cool.
So.
Awesome. Powerful stuff, right?
Yeah, excited.
Absolutely. Well, closing thoughts. Just tell us how do people reach you? What's the best way to get in touch with Jonathan and Fabi?
Yeah, so reach out to me at any point in time. I know we've got a few things we're going to set up with some training sessions, but if you ever want to bounce any ideas off of me, I'm not in production anymore, but if you want to bounce ideas, you want to talk about structuring your business planning, anything like that, please reach out to me. You can call me at 239-877-2680, Jonathan.Garrick, Garrick, at movement.com. Reach me there. Obviously, I'm all over Facebook and social media. That's one of the events we're going to be doing. So shoot me a friend request on Facebook. Love to hook up with you there and see what kind of a difference that I can make in your business.
That's awesome.
Same. Fabiano.Pinto at movement.com. Fabiano, Fabiano. We'll love to help you guys out, and you can reach me on my cell as well. 239-293-4452. 239-293-4452. Love to help you guys out and see how we can align and help each other out with our businesses. So
Awesome.
thanks for the time. And
Absolutely.
This was great.
Absolutely. This is great. Cool.